All right, welcome back to BM Talk to Them. So today we have Kisu, Tercy, and Rebel all joining us. They was on episode 61, which was a very talk, talked about episode. Everybody was talking about it. So welcome guys. How you all feeling?
Feeling good.
I'm feeling
Uh,
good.
Yeah, I'm feeling good. I'm excited for this.
I think it's been interesting. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I guess I'm just gonna jump straight into it. Because obviously your episode was talked about a lot, and I will have to say that I give people an opportunity to come on the platform. I give a lot of people opportunity to come on this platform. So if you don't see some people come on the platform that you want to see on the platform, just know that I gave them the opportunity to come on. So if you see them come on, then they obviously wanted to come on. Now, let's start with this viral moment that went viral, right? The hair comment. Tercy, can you explain to us what you meant when you said what you said?
Yeah, absolutely. It's actually just what I meant when I said it, which was, I prefer longer hair. And, you think about just people day to day in our lives, we have things that we choose, aka our preferences, through almost all assets, the music we listen to, the clothes we wear, the things we do, the people we hang around, right? So it's no different in the dating dynamic in the fact that this is potentially one of the most important decisions I'm going to make, right? So if I'm in this genuinely to find someone that I'm connecting to, I have to do what suits me because my actions have consequences and I have to be accountable for the decisions I make. So if I'm going to pick someone that I ultimately want to invest time into and get to know, I don't want to have any regrets about what I chose. And so I do feel that that comment I made was just what it was. It was nothing malicious. There was no malintent. It was just essentially, it's just not what at the time I was, feeling or attracted to.
Okay. Actually, so Tercy, let me ask you a question, right? When you made that comment, was you saying that you don't like weave or you don't like, any type of extensions? Or was you just saying that you just don't like short hair in general?
Well, I shouldn't say I didn't like hair. I didn't say anything about not liking something, right? So I just said prefer longer hair. Which is not to say you don't like something, right? Both can exist at the same time. So just because I like something more, or prefer something more, right? If given the choice, I'm going to take that. However, doesn't mean that I would never date someone that has short hair. It's just because I'm getting my opportunity to sort of pick. This is what I'm going to go for.
Okay. All right. And Rebel, when he made that comment, how did you feel at the time?
Yeah, well, one thing is, I mean, I since you just asked him if he doesn't like weaves, I don't have a weave. It is my natural hair. But when he made that comment, I mean, in that moment, I was just, like we're filming this episode. I was like, I knew that there was a chance someone was going to say something to me that wasn't, that was something they weren't into about me. When it happened, I was kind of just like, nice, it's over with, like let's keep it moving. That's kind of what was going on in my head. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And Akisu, how did you feel about that comment when you first heard about it?
Well, for me, I told myself that going into the show, I wanted to really like hear what people were saying instead of like seeing them and then judging them off rip. So I feel like after I heard that statement, for me, it just didn't leave me with the best first impression, and that's made me pop my balloon.
Why is that?
Because I know like a lot of people come on this show and they feel like it's okay to say comments that may hurt someone's feelings. And I didn't see Rebel's YouTube video, so I don't know if she like spoke about her background with like having shorter, coily hair. But people usually come on the show and think like that's okay. And I feel like for me, I wanted to be mindful in regards to how I was censoring my opinions on others because I don't know how they're going to take it and internalize it. And I just felt like I feel like as well looking for a partner, I would like for them to think about things that same way. Um, so that's why when I heard it, I was just like this is a no, and I popped basically in the moment.
Okay. All right. So he had a preference. He didn't say
Hmm.
that he doesn't like weave or he doesn't like, wigs or anything like that. He just said he prefers longer hair. There's nothing wrong with what he said. Now I feel like us people like to bring the race card into, into so many situations. I don't think he was trying to say, oh, this is about race or because we're black. He was just saying that his preference was longer hair. I feel like it would have been different if he said, oh, he didn't like weave, right? Because it's like weave is different. So why is it that when a man has a preference, a lot of women get offended by that? But when you women say, oh, I don't like locks, I don't like, you know, longer hair on a man, men shouldn't get offended. Men should just take it as it is. But when it's women, it's like you can't say that. Can you ladies try to explain to us what the difference with preferences between a man and a woman is?
Yeah,
Well, I
I
mean, I
can get.
guess I'll go first. Um, after, I'm sorry. I just want to say, Tercy, like you're allowed to have your preference, and like after watching the show, I definitely sat back and like thought about it more. And men and women have their preferences, and I may have some preferences that people would hear and they would like shame me as well. So honestly, like for me as a black woman, if I hear certain preferences, it could make me just think twice or make me feel uncomfortable. For example, if he was to see me in a braid out or if I was to take my wig off, my hair would look just like Rebels, you know? So, and I'm trying to speak for like myself here. It's like I would put myself in her shoes in that situation and I wouldn't have liked if I heard that. So I really hate the fact that there is a double standard on preferences and I don't really want to try to answer for all of America, but well, America, yeah, I get what I'm trying to say. But I just feel like, I just feel like, what point was I trying to make? I just feel like it's for me, I would just be mindful on what to and to not say.
So when women say they want a taller man, should
Hmm.
they also be mindful of what they should say?
I
Rebel, you
mean,
got it.
I have some thoughts. So here's how I interpreted the whole thing watching it back. I feel like the comment on my natural hair was taken harshly because, like, it's something that I feel like for so long, people of African descent have been, women of African descent have been like changing about themselves to make it more Eurocentric. I do know Tercy did not say he doesn't like, you know, textured curly hair, but I think the short comment may have been like equated to him saying he doesn't like natural textured hair. And where I think that's different from height is that height is not Afrocentric. Like anyone of any race can be short or tall, but the curly and textured is more specific to, being black. So that's how I kind of took it and where I saw that people may be offended. Largely in that we've been changing it for so long. So an equivalent for men I do think would be telling a man that we don't like his natural textured hair.
So when a woman says they don't like locks, that doesn't matter.
Well, so I don't know how the women would have felt if he said he didn't like weave, or if he said he didn't like locks on a woman. I I don't know if how they would have felt. Of course, like for me, I guess I should let Kisu speak because in the moment, like I said, I didn't think too much of it.
So okay, so if a man is bold and a woman
Mhm.
says you're bold, right? And he can't, men don't go and wear weave. So he has to deal with it. You feel me? Right?
Yeah,
So in that situation, it's natural that he's bold. Now, a woman makes a comment saying, I don't like bold guys.
yeah.
Can you guys explain that?
So, from my perspective, I thought that this was a problem because it's tied to the African American descent, whereas being bald is not. Like I said, commenting on something that is Afrocentric that men try to change to make look more Eurocentric, then I think it would be a problem.
I guess my question is, why do you automatically think that he's talking about the African descent? Why do you think that? Couldn't he just be talking about hair? Because it
Yeah.
seems like he was just making a comment about he just likes longer hair. Like, he's not saying he doesn't like weave or any type of extensions. He wasn't saying none of that. All he was saying is just that I just like prefer longer hair. So
I
why do we
think it
always make it a something to do with, black people?
I think it just has to do with the state of her hair and like the coiliness and the natural state of her hair that it was in the moment. I feel like maybe differently if she had like a Nia Long pixie cut, a Amber Rose buzz cut blonde, and he said it's short. I would be like, okay, well, like she has short hair. Like they purposely manipulated their hair to be short. So if that's what he doesn't like, but this is like genetically like her, and a lot of black women resemble the state that she was in too. So I feel like in that moment, that's why
Okay.
it was an issue.
So I guess you kind of all understand now, like, in the moment, it's completely different to how it comes out. So in the moment, everybody, you're all agreeing with each other, like, yeah, this is what he said. It affected a lot of people the way it did. But watching it back now, do you understand the difference? And do you kind of understand what he was saying now? Like, he wasn't coming at you ladies because of what you thought, but he was just saying that he just preferred longer hair. Do you ladies understand that now?
I can say, like, when I just saw the clip that went viral of just the comment on my hair, again, I didn't think much of it. When I watched the entire episode, I think I just felt a lack of empathy in that I don't think there was ever one compliment given, but many were given to him. And I think for me, that's more where I just kind of thought, yeah, that's not my style.
Okay. Okay.
Can I say
Yes.
something? Yeah. So I think what is interesting and what I'm hearing is, we're on a dating show, and the decisions we're making directly are going to affect, you know, us, right? So, I guess I'm confused as to why come on a dating show and allow for the thinking of others to influence your decision that doesn't directly correlate to you, right? So I completely understand everything about, how you can maybe perceive or take something some way and think that is to the masses. It's interesting because I'm Nigerian. Um, People were saying Becky's and thinking I date white women. I've never had a white girlfriend, which is even funnier when I'm reading the comments. So it would have made more sense had you asked, well, why don't you, like, if you thought I said didn't like, short hair, which I never said, it would have made more sense to me had you asked the question as to why don't I, to clarify, for yourself. Because for me, if I ever want information, I'm not going to base it on others because I'm going to get the information for myself because the decision that I'm going to make is going to directly impact me. So I think it's interesting that, for many of the ladies that were on the show, you all are going off of, how you think someone else may have felt, or you're projecting those feelings onto yourself that doesn't have anything to do with you.
Um, I can speak for myself to say, and in the nicest way possible, I didn't think it was necessary to continue asking questions due to the fact that, like, initially I wasn't really um interested in, I wasn't really attracted to you. Like, not in a mean way or anything like that, but like I said, like the age was kind of already a red, not a red flag, but something I wasn't a fan of. Then, your style preference, that's you, but that wasn't something that caught my eye. And then to hear you say that comment, I just think I didn't really find it necessary to want to continue hearing anything else that you had to say, because at that point it was something that I made up an opinion, I made my decision on. Now, if maybe there were other factors to where I felt like, okay, let me try to question and hear him out, I feel like I probably would have posed a question. But for me, I just didn't find it necessary to continue to ask a question.
Right. But then, for me as well, if you're not initially attracted to me, then why even try to defend a comment that I made for someone else? I would assume if you're not attracted to me, then let that be it. You're not attracted, and just squash it there. How does you going from not being attracted to me end up you having to state a bunch of other additional reasons, right? That again wasn't made towards you, has no impact on you.
Let me actually jump in there as well. I want to speak about this issue that we have in our community. Being a girl's girl, what is all this girls girl stuff? Because I feel like a lot of you women are saying that you're a girl's girl and that is what's keeping you women single.
I don't know if I would say I feel like this is something that reflected me being like a girl's girl.
So what
I'm
what I mean by that, right? I kind of like the statement "girls girl." It's like, you know, you lot are women. Women should have their own voice, their own mind, their own opinions, right? Most of the time on the show, when a comment is made by a man, one woman doesn't agree with it, then everybody pops. It's kind of like they follow each other, and it happens a lot, right? And these are the type of conversations that we need to have in order to fix these things. We have to have them. If we don't talk about these things, it will never get fixed. So what I'm trying to say is that why is it that so many women bounce off each other and then they say, yeah, I'm a girl's girl. I'm a girl's girl. As if like to make it seem like I understand what they're going through because you relate to them and stuff like that. But realistically, it's like you're looking for a man, you're looking for a husband, right? So why do so many of you feel like you have to back each other up, be on the same team, when certain conversations have nothing to do with you?
Yeah, I
Well,
feel like for me, I can say this, and I mean, like, it's no offense to Rebel. When I decided to pop my balloon, it was for me. Like, it wasn't to back up Rebel in that case. It was a decision that I made. I don't need, and we all popped our balloon at the same time on our episode. Other episodes I can't speak on. So it's not something to where I feel like I had to come to her rescue. And like I said, for me, I felt like I could empathize, or I could see myself in her shoes. So I thought about myself, and that's why I popped. I really hope I'm articulating myself like well
Yeah,
in
no, I,
the
I
moment.
understand what you're
I
saying though.
understand, like, I feel like a girl's girl is kind of like, dang, I don't know if I have a a girl's girl is kind of like if a guy does a girl like wrong in a way, and then she tries to come to like her rescue. But
Yeah,
I
the
think,
little things. I feel like the little
mhm,
things, girls, okay, we understand it. But when it comes to big decisions as a woman, you should not be trying to be in the same bubble with the same women and saying, yeah, we're backing each other up. When you're out here looking for a husband, you're not out here trying to make friends, and fight other women's battles because you're a girl's girl.
mhm.
yeah.
That's not how it should be.
Okay, from my perspective, when all that was happening, like after the comment was made and everyone popped and they spoke on why they popped, I never thought that this was for me. Like, I guess I just think bigger than that. And it was like, of course, that big reaction wasn't for some woman they just met. Like, when someone's having a big reaction, it's based on themselves and their past experiences. So I was just thinking that it they felt it for themselves rather than for me, you know?
Okay. So obviously, this is the thing about people don't understand. People that watch in the studio, it's completely different. Like what's going on there, so many emotions is running. So many people are like, "Oh, what do I say? What do I not say?" I've, the lights, the cameras. But then when you get out of that environment, it's kind of like, okay, you watch it back, you kind of reflect and say, "Oh, I didn't think that it would go down like this." Like you said, Rebel, like you didn't think it was for you, right? But how it looks like when people watch it, it just looks like everybody was backing you up. Do you get what I'm saying? That's how it
Yeah.
looks.
But
That's why we have these podcasts and conversations to kind of clear up things.
yeah.
Yeah, let me say this. So Rebel, you mentioned that you didn't feel it was for you. On one end, you have women speaking for you. And what I find that is interesting is that women tend to let other women speak for them, right? As men, if someone speaks for me, I'm going to shut it down because those aren't my words, right? So I have an image and I have my own thoughts, right? And I'm fully capable. So if I hear something that I didn't say, I don't want someone to perceive something I didn't say or misinterpret something I didn't say because it also is a reflection on my character. So I was interested, it was interesting seeing your video, as you spoke to, you thought that this was about themselves. However, there were several times, where she literally looked down at you and said, how can you talk about this woman's hair? And, you kept quiet. Now, you don't owe me anything to defend the comment or to reply or anything. But I think part of what BM says when, he's alluding to a girl's girl is that you're also enabling it because you're allowing them to think this is how you felt. This is what the comment was about. When in reality, it had nothing to do with that, or you didn't take it that way.
Right, but like I said, for me, I was like, this is not about me. I'm going to stay out of it. And like I also said, from just from mine and yours interaction, I didn't think much of you. Not good or bad. It was just like this. After you spoke with the other women in the line and said, like, no, the body type, and didn't give one compliment while they were giving you compliments, like, I felt like there was that lack of empathy. At that point, I just felt like, yeah, I'm not gonna go put myself out there for this guy. If it were someone like the first guy who came out, who was super sweet and like complimentary, if he would have made that comment and they all popped on him and then he was kind to everyone, I mean, I just think it would have been different. Yeah. And then I probably would have said something.
So what do you women think is going on in this generation when it comes to when women they like a lot of women are very strict, right, in their preferences, and like they don't really want to give a lot of men chances. Do you think that could be holding them back?
I mean, I feel like, yeah, I of course it is. I feel like it's not just women too. It's like men. And I mean, I'm first gen Nigerian. I have a Nigerian mom, and sometimes we talk, and she like tells me like, "Okay, come on, like be serious." Um,
So actually, let me ask you, what did your mom think when she saw you on the show? Let's hear it.
oh, I don't even think she knew I was on the show. I'm not gonna hold you. My mom is in Nigeria right now, so
All right.
I
Okay.
don't know. I really don't know if she saw the show, and I was planning on talking to her about it too to see if she saw it, but she's she's worried about the chaos of Nigeria. She's not worried about what's going on over here. But to bring that up, I say to say, like, I do have my mom that I talk to about it sometimes, and I'm still learning to understand, when certain preferences I should and should not overlook, or when to like give people a chance. So I really think that maybe it just falls down to having like that older person or that mentor or someone who is like married to be able to like talk certain thoughts through about a person and then see if they can give them that advice. Maybe some people just don't really have that person to fall back on. Um, I know for me, like there's some things where I'm just like, oh, like I'm not sure. But what I can say though is that my mom gave me advice once, and she said like, give something a try. When I'm like talking to the guys that I'm talking to, even if there's some things that you don't like, give it a try and then go from there. So I basically say all that to say that maybe they don't really have that community or that village to fall back on for more advice, before they decide to just cut someone off. So
That's good. That's a good point. That's a good point. Rebel?
Yeah. So, I mean, we're kind of specifically referring to on Pop the Balloon, the preferences we see.
We're just talking as a whole, like, the dating pool right now.
Yeah.
Why some of the people are struggling in
Yeah,
this
well, I do think a
generation.
lot of people are using dating apps, and I do think that for a lot of people on the dating app, like they're being extra specific because they have this giant pool to choose from. I think there are quite a few, I'll just say, I mean, quite a few people where it's like, okay, if they meet a guy in person and they chat with him and he's super sweet and he's
Mhm.
shorter, they may actually be open to it versus if
Mhm.
they see him on an app because they have this big pool and they don't get the depth. So maybe to that point, I'm thinking that having dating apps and so many options could be part of the reason why like people are being so specific in what they want.
Right. Okay. And Tercy?
Yeah. So I think there's a whole host of things that, you know, have really damaged the dynamics. And, obviously I would say, of course, just having too much access has made people not really appreciate sort of the fundamentals of dating, and just appreciating people for who they are because they're always looking at, what's unattainable, essentially.
Right.
And also, I think there's what I found to be a very common theme is that when men are essentially in a position to, I guess, really court a woman, it's time after time I see a guy who has been a gentleman, who's been very nice, very pleasant. In fact, the first guy, I thought he was really cool guy, and all of a sudden, he's labeled, I think we're more friends, right? And so there's also a point that just seems that sometimes women are looking for things that are just unattainable. And, you see it all the time from some of the things that I think are truly just very picky, right? Versus, really appreciating, a lot of the more things that bring substance to the relationship.
I
Okay.
don't think it's just women. I
Well,
think
I
both parties look find things that are unattainable or
and
like
But here's the thing, right? Would you agree that in most cases you're being approached by a guy versus you're approaching a man?
no.
yes. Um, Usually guys approach me. What? Ask the question one
So,
more time.
rebel, you're saying you approach men more often than they approach you?
I think kind of 50-50. I think men approach me, but it's often not. I think the type of guy that I'm into is more shy and less likely to approach me. But I do have a question. Tercy, what were any of the women in the lineup like would you have not popped on any of them? Because it seemed like none of us were really your type.
Well, obviously I hadn't had a chance to ask you all questions, right? So I was the one that was essentially came out, gave a little information about myself, and then from there, made the comment, and then that was it. So, of course, when I come out, the only thing I have to go off of is physical. I value health and wellness. I mentioned it, in two different ways when I came out, right? So, of course, when I come out, I'm going to look for someone that is physically attractive because that shows a lot in terms of someone who takes care of themselves, right? And some of the standards that I have for relationship dynamics, and if I was to ever want to have kids. So, you know, that's all I have to go off of. Now, if I were able to ask you all questions and get to know you, then that's just another deeper layer that I'm uncovering that gains me more attraction. I made a mention to you at the I think that at the end that if we're together and and this could be anyone. If I'm with someone and something comes up, such as them losing hair or these extreme cases, right? We would have already gotten to know each other. There would be a deeper connection. There would be an invested time, right? Where it's not about something so superficial, right? So, that would never be a case, where all of a sudden I'm just looking to get rid of or get out of the relationship because of something so superficial. But in that moment, it was all I can go off of was just the physical because I hadn't had much conversations or engagement with any of you.
Right, right. And just to kind of end it off as well, I will say that all of you are very mature. Like, you lot are very mature, and it's good that we can all speak, because I want to bring, Kisu back on the show, and Tercy. Definitely bring you lot back on the show. Rebel as well. We're waiting to see on your catch up to see what's going on over there. Just to kind of wrap it up, I do want to say that, listen, me, I don't mind makeup. I don't mind, weave or any of that. I don't mind. But some men mind, and that's perfectly fine. You are allowed to have your preferences. Now, women, whenever you hear of a man making his preferences, respect it, understand it, and try to not just bounce off each other and say, oh yeah, I'm a girl's girl, let me go. Because that is what's keeping a lot of you women single. You are not here to fight other women's battles. You feel me? Like, we understand that you might be affected by it, but that whole segment, he wasn't trying to come at you. And I feel like we just have to try to understand each other. So these are just some of the things that we need to sort out in order for us to fix things. And that's why having these conversations is so important. Do you guys have any last final things to say before we leave?
I do. It was just picking back off something that you just said, and I hope it makes sense with everything that's going on. But I remember thinking before for myself before the show, and I just started watching Pop the Balloon like this year. Like, I want to say I watched it like for a month, and then that's when I applied. And I saw a lot of guys saying comments about like, oh, she has too much makeup. She has too much makeup. And I remember like the morning of the show, I was really like debating on like, should I put on a lot of makeup or not? I'm not gonna lie, like, I'm a glam girl. I love makeup. It makes me happy. I feel at peace when I do my makeup. And I was like, I don't want to go on the show and then a guy like doesn't think to talk to me because I have on too much makeup. But I also can't help myself for being myself too, So like I like kind of set myself up thinking like, ideally, if me having up too much makeup is like not his preference or he's just not a fan of it, then I just know that person's not for me. Um, so I think I say that to say like when I hear like when you hear other people's preferences and stuff like that, for me I just use it as a reassurance like, well, maybe you're just not my person anyways, and that's fine too. So
Okay, okay.
it's my little 2 cents.
Rebel?
No, I don't really have anything to add.
Okay, okay. And Tercy?
Yeah, no, I'll just say, I think it's important that just on both sides, you really seek to understand. You don't always have to agree, but if you understand that lies where we can kind of all move forward happily. Because I think when you kind of taint the waters by assuming, and the influence starts to spread, I think it also taints others' perceptions and their decisions. And unfortunately, that could cause them, potentially a mate that they're looking to find. So, you know, just moving forward, I would just say people need to just, seek to understand and not so much try to be right.
Right, and the whole point of the show is to find love. Trust me, everyone. When you find your person, none of these things matter. None of these little things matter. You will not even be speaking about these little things because you'll be happy in love and you'll be moving on. So is there anything else that you want to say? Maybe you, Kisu, Rebel, you want to say to Tercy? Anything else before we leave?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say to like Tercy, um, I'm like, you're allowed to have your preferences. So I hope like me popping my balloon, and maybe I was a little feisty with all the things I said too. So I could have helped that. But I hope what I said does not like diminish you in any way, shape, or form. You're allowed to have your preferences, and yeah, baby, me and you are just not meant to be, but you'll find your queen eventually.
Is that an apology that I'm hearing there?
Yeah, it is. I do apologize. I really do.
Okay, Rebel.
I hope that's how it comes off. I just have a personality on me. It really is like I do
That's
apologize.
good. That's good. That's
Listen,
very
that's
good.
fine. I mean, obviously, I don't get offended easy, and I appreciate the apology. But
Okay.
at the end of the day, I think everyone is allowed to have their opinions. Um, but I think just again, as I reiterate all the time, it's just important to at least understand what people are saying rather than just quick to, you know, make a judgment, I guess.
Okay. And Rebel, any last things you want to say?
No, I mean, I guess for me, I kind of do feel like I'm not super. I feel like I'm kind of less involved in the whole
Yeah,
thing
yeah,
since
yeah.
it was
You was all the way
about
down
me.
the line. You wasn't. She was on the other
So I was
side.
kind
So
of a little fly on the wall, like what's going on. But yeah, so no.
okay. All right, all right. Well, that's good. Well, thank you everyone for watching the show, and we will catch you all next time.